I was at Node PDX a few months ago. Is anybody else at that conference? Local conference, awesome conference. And I saw a workshop that Andrew gave, and I saw this title, or a similar title, and I was like, $2. You gotta be pulling my leg. I wasn't born yesterday. And then I think I'm just gonna throw some more analogies, metaphors on here. And it's actually true. I remember a few years ago, I did an Arduino thing and tried to add Wi-Fi to it, and it was $60. And that was like 3 years ago. So, you know all those joke internet SSIDs you can see online, like there's all the funny ones that people probably just make for the screenshot, and they're like, oh, look at my neighbor's cool SSID. You can do it now for $2.
Yep.
So super exciting. Without further ado, I just wanted to preface this talk by saying that the title is in fact accurate. I have bought these devices for that cheap, just in case you needed a second opinion. It's a super exciting concept and topic. Andrew, everyone.
Thank you very much. I don't get to vote, so I don't know what I'm going to do on that day. Probably cry. Yeah, my name's Andrew Chalkley, or Chalkers. I'm a teacher by day at Treehouse, an online education site, and a tinkerer by night. I host a local cable access show called That Maker Show. It's also online on YouTube for those who don't use TVs anymore. And I run a local meetup called JavaScript and the Internet of Things. And some of the projects that I'm going to be talking to tonight has spun out of that meetup. I've been tinkering around with electronics, and maybe you've all bought an Arduino and blinked an LED and put it in the drawer and then walked away. That's fun. There's a fun to electronics. It's physical. But I think what really gets me excited is attaching it to the internet, and that you can switch things on and off remotely from anywhere in the world. And there's a couple of problems with IoT, and as Max said, an Arduino, so it's the cost. An Arduino costs about $25, a Wi-Fi shield is another $60, so anywhere between $75 and $80 to get a thing online. The embedded environments, you have to write C and all these other funky languages, and there's no modern workflow for a JavaScript developer. So let's tackle each one of these problems one by one. The cost. Yeah, this thing is the ESP8266. You'll memorize it because of the cost of this thing. This is less than $2. And that's savings. You can literally buy between 30 to 40 of these things for the price of one Arduino and a Wi-Fi shield. So that's awesome savings.
Cheaper than an Americano.
Yeah, cheaper than a coffee. Right. You can get 2 of these for a coffee. Maybe 3. So what's the benefits? It's cheap. It's low power. These can run for prolonged periods of time, years if you're really cool at programming. And then it's Arduino compatible, so if you've written Arduino code, you can use it on this. In other words, it's flashable, so you can install different things on it. So they normally come with like Lua, a scripting language that some people still use. And those chips come on these things called development boards. This is a Adafruit Huzzah, so there's the chip there, and it breaks out the pins. This is about $10. This one is for scale. That's how big that is. It's got a battery charger port and USB. This is a Feather Huzzah. This is $15. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Now, this one is $3 delivered from China, probably. And it's got an RGB LED. So that's that thing in that corner, so it can do all the color spectrum. And it's got a photoresistor, so you can do a theremin if you want. And I've got one sealed here.
Is it raffle?
No. But but it will be for a demo, and I'll throw it out into the audience later. There's no raffle. Okay, so it's flashable, so we can install JavaScript on this thing. And why JavaScript? It's not C, right? So that's why. So this is where the second problem comes, is the embedded environment. How do you get JavaScript on this thing? So a JavaScript environment has these types of objects: native objects, host objects, and your objects. What are native objects? Well, they're everywhere. They're in Node.js, they're in your browser, and they consist of numbers, strings, arrays, objects. In a host environment, like a browser, you've got things like the document and window and all the DOM APIs. For Node.js, you can require things like the event emitter, there's a process and a console log. On microcontrollers, you have require for HTTP. MQTT is another protocol, and maybe a global instance like this. So there's several JavaScript microcontrollers out there already: Espruino, Smart.js, Canoma, and JavaScript. And I've had the most experience with this Espruino JavaScript runtime. It was created by Gordon Williams. It runs on the boards that he develops, but it doesn't have Wi-Fi in, so it's not an Internet of Thing unless you put the Wi-Fi board onto it. It has been ported by the community to the ESP8266 and is now officially supported. It's ECMAScript 5, but there are some little bits of ECMAScript 6 in there. And it can be programmed over serial or plugging it into USB and over the air. So these are the simple steps to flash Espruino on the ESP8266. You go to Espruino.com, go to Quick Start, other boards, ESP8266, find the flashing tutorial, not the soldering tutorial. Make sure you've got Python installed. Clone this command line tool called the ESP tool, the Python version, not the C version, obviously. And then you find the latest binaries, extract them, and it run this command. Simple, right? Right? No, that makes me sad. So I've got this really impressive quote here. Let's read this. IoT has the opportunity to tap into the talent of millions of web developers today. It fails to do so because of friction. If the tools don't improve, this will never happen. That's me. Super quote. Okay, cool. So the solution, thank you very much. The solution is a one-click install. So you install Flasher.js, you install the drivers, you select your device, you select the Espruino version, and then click Flash. So demo time. This has never been opened, and it may be quite difficult to... With a broken finger, I've got it. My teeth are sharp enough. So here's the Wi-Fi WITI. I'm going to plug it in. There's 2 USB ports because, okay. And then I'm going to run Flasher.js.
That's Windows for those of you who aren't there.
So this is cross-platform. It runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And it's an Electron app, so it's JavaScript all the way down. So let's click Flash. And hopefully my internet connection is stable enough. So yeah, it's downloading. It's going to get the binaries for you. You don't need to look around a website. And it comes down really fast if you're at home. So right now, this has just probably got a default script on it. And it's just running and it's cycling through these colors. So once it's downloaded from the internet, it'll flash it to this device here. So I'm just going to have that there like that, because I know my time is kind of short. Oh, it's not that slow. It's happening. Anyway, so what you'll see is a little blue light flickering, and that's when you know it's flashing. Come on. Yes. You see it's doing it? Flashing 1%. So within a minute, JavaScript is going to be on this thing. I could unplug this, and it's actually running on this thing still. You don't need it connected like other things out there. But yeah, this is flashing JavaScript, the Espruino runtime on this, rather than going through all that pain and that painful process. So it's still flashing, and I will go to the next slide while it's flashing. Oh, hello again. This is me. Savings. All that stuff again. Yay. Yeah. Whoop. Sad. Awesome quote, by the way. Okay, one-click install. Demo time. Cool. Now you've got JavaScript running on this thing. What do you do now? What do you do? Well, you download this Chrome extension and code everything in there. That's okay if you're maybe learning JavaScript. There's a Blockly interface, which is kind of cool as well. But there's no package.json. This I'm not just picking on Espruino. This is all JavaScript runtimes. There's no package.json to use. So it's not what we're used to. So what's the solution to that? An opinionated CLI called Things SDK CLI. So you need something to help manage your microcontroller projects using NPM, package managed semantic versioning, and you can start writing tests, so professional grade applications for IoT. That's great. So here's another demo. And I will share my CMD, Windows P, duplicate. Cool. And can I make this bigger? I don't know. Just squint a little. So if we go to the projects, I can just do things SDK, new, things SDK, SDK. I should have thought of that when I was naming the thing. And new, and the project name, so let's call it DonutJS. And I've already got the project there, so I'm just going to write it real quick. And I entered this. Select the COM port, COM3, which is this thing. And then I can hit enter. And then, CD into it. Okay, CD, Donut.js. And do npm install. npm install. And then it gives you the baseline for a project. It's got a package.json in there where you can install dependencies. And the internet as well with npm. That's cool. And let me show you the thing in Visual Studio Code. Open folder, and then where is it? Got lots of things in here. D for donut. There we go. And then select folder. So in here we've got a main.js, which set interval, and it just flashes LED on every half a second, is it? Yeah. So right now there is just kind of random flicker in here. It's probably trying to connect to the internet, but let's see if we can make it more consistent if it wasn't installing so long. Anyway, I would just write npm push, and it would push the code to the device. And you can use ECMAScript 6. So I've got a project here that I can show you called Wi-Fi Gotchi. If you go to wifi-gotchi.com, you can tell a internet-connected pet what its state of mind is. So as you can see, just like we need to be told online how we feel. Up on the top there, it's requiring an npm package called Things SDK Adafruit Matrix. So that's a little display that I've got here. I've got a separate file, which you can't do in these other editors and things, that deals with showing the face. A Wi-Fi manager connecting to an API, and I can import a .json file, so I can put credentials in a separate file, and you don't need to check that into GitHub. You can do that for your project. And then you just run npm run push, and it pushes this thing to the device. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with a few more slides. Extend. And how do I go from this slide? Maybe this one. Yeah, there we go. So the solution surrounding IoT for the cost problem is the ESP8266. It means it's open to a lot more people who can afford this now. The embedded environment, getting that up and running. Flash.js doesn't just flash Espruino, it can flash other JavaScript runtimes too. And a modern workflow, the solution is Things SDK CLI. And help is needed. These are the main things for the CLI right now. There's 100% test passing on two of the projects. We're at 43% on the other. I'm giving away these Feather Huzzahs to people who make any contributions, documentation, or code, or otherwise. I've got a handful still left. So if you contribute to Things SDK, you'll get one. And help needed. So I run the Internet of Things meetup here, the JavaScript one. The October one is at Mozilla, and we're doing a hack night on Things SDK. And we're going to improve documentation and iron out the latest bugs so we can get a beta out the door. And this is the last slide stuff. And I'll talk to you later.